I've been told I have to stay mustache close in order to be heard. Okay, so the curtain for this story opens on a living room somewhere on the West Coast, where there's 20 people crammed into every nook and cranny, myself included. I'm not going to waste time describing the space, because if you've been on the West Coast and you've seen a living room, you know that they are the death of imagination. And even if that wasn't the case, the person who is holding court in the center of the room is just so captivating. So Jeff. The first thing you notice about Jeff is that his teeth are almost gone. There's just these pulpy, yellow stumps that would actually not be out of place on a pirate ship. He looks like a rum-soaked rascal, or somebody who should not be around children. But, he is just, there's something so childlike about his sincerity with which he's delivering his pitch to us that we just get pulled in, and he goes, "Okay, this is a play about madness, humiliation, and utter failure. It is Shakespeare's work, and it is our job." And I go, yeah, and my heart blooms, because this is it. I'm here with my people, and we are going to make theater magic happen. And I was in awe of the power of theater. You know, it had helped me get out of my shell as just a very young, insecure person. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust that. Just a very young, insecure person. And basically, I knew that if I was on stage along with everybody else, I didn't have to justify my worth to anybody. And I'm going to hold it here, because it's actually sagging. No worries. Okay, so I knew I didn't have to justify my worth to anybody. And I became addicted, like was mentioned earlier. It became a drug, because I just wanted to find weirder and weirder groups to work with, so I could just grow up, get out of my comfort zone. And eventually, this is how I found the Big Ideas Club when they were doing their inaugural production of Othello. They were kind of this university-backed, small-time theater group doing their own thing. Well, so much so that their concept was they were going to do Othello with vampires versus werewolves. I know, but they made it work. We had a wonderful time and a fantastic cast party. I look forward to cast parties sometimes more than the actual run. You know, just all this wonderful condensing of every element during the show just soaked in booze. Wonderful show, with one exception. And back in the present of the room, that exception is stepping up and awkwardly nudging Jeff out of his place. It is a sack of meat covered in fur that for the last hour or so has done very little other than I fuck all of us. He leans forward. A smile slashes across his face. He leers out with those zombie eyes and he goes, "I am so happy to be here with all of you tonight." So Ryan was club president of Big Ideas, and if I have to throw one little thing of credit to him, without his drive, without his force, Othello would have never have gotten off the ground. But he did do his best to bring it down with him. He's just not a safe person, not in any sense of the word. And his ego is so big, he believes it is a gift to be forced on you if necessary. He would howl constantly, as if he was taking the concept to the nth degree, just woo! Always. And even more telling was this one scene where I confront him during the climax, where he began to grab me in a bear hug and work his hands down to my belt. I'm like, where the fuck is this going? Well, it turns out he was grabbing my dagger. And he waved it above his head, and with a woo! He proceeds to run around the stage, and I've got to chase him and somehow convince an audience full of people that this was planned, and somehow I am the asshole. So I'm a little distressed to see we're starting out on familiar ground. But I look around at my people, and I'm like, no, we got through this, because we'd come together during Othello, we'll come together now, who cares about this loser? So I wait for Ryan to shut up, which does not happen soon enough, and Jeff takes back his space. So this is going to be Titus Andronicus, but with Reservoir Dogs. I'm like, yeah, okay. So one thing you have to know about Titus, it is Shakespeare's strangest show. There's no middle ground to your success. Either you will succeed or they will burn you alive inside the theater. It's just a very weird play, things happening seemingly for no reason, like just murder, horror, degradation. And so you kind of need to remove it from its original context. And so putting it out of the Roman world and putting it inside organized crime and covering it with Tarantino's hyper-violent aesthetic actually makes a lot of sense. And so, actually, the violence gets so cartoonish you can't take it seriously. So Jeff isn't even going to bother to stage it. he is going to film it and then he's going to project it into the show itself. And so I leave that night, my heart is 10 times bigger. I am so happy to get started with my people who are all probably thinking the same thing, which is, well, Jeff had said something before we broke, and it was, so consider this. What if, to save money and to highlight the toxic environment of the show, we all wear garbage bags? Okay, everyone, I'll see you at rehearsal, bye. And I'm like, silly, Jeff, that will never be a thing. And so we get in rehearsal, and I'm actually a little shocked to see how many new faces there are. Because Shakespeare casts are big, but Titus is gargantuan. And there's only so much that a local community theater could fill. So Jeff has outsourced it to like the university student population, everybody who's ever wanted to be in a play, but they never had the courage, yada, yada, yada. And I meet one of them, Logan. And Logan, he's a nice guy. His main role is he steps off stage and he gets murdered. Steps off stage and gets murdered, and then he howls. So he does it, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and wait. Was the squirrel getting murdered? No, actually, that's as loud as he can project. And we don't see him when this is happening, so like conceivably anyone could fill in his role. But Jeff looks at this and he goes, looks good. And I remind myself, okay, even though there seems to be a lot of non-acting going on with the supernumeraries, because they're not trained like you. They're here because they love it like you. So why are you being elitist? They are your people. And no matter, it's not like they're behaving like Ryan. No, it's not like anybody could behave like Ryan. Because the howling is back. But he's not just doing it during his lines, he's doing it over top of other people's lines. And what's even more disturbing is that in every interaction he has with somebody on stage, he comes right up close to their face. And understandably, a few people are afraid, and they're looking to Jeff for some protection. And Jeff is looking at this and he's going, looks good. And then it hits me. Okay, so Titus is a toxic character, and Ryan is a toxic man, so he's trying to do some meta-acting. Okay, yeah, it's a rough edge, but my people will get around it, rough edges. And, actually a particular rough edge, of which there were many, stands out in my first and my biggest scene with Aaron the Moor, the play's villain. And now Aaron is usually played by a guy, partly because he needs to impregnate Tamara, Queen of Goths, but in this case, Jeff is gender reversed, and I'm like, cool, what non-binary commentary we're gonna have? What's going on? And Jeff goes, she has a penis. It works in everything. Yeah. And I go, okay, so how are we communicating that to the audience? Well, turns out he's just going to dress her in bondage. And I really apologize for this, but part of my 22-year-old brain went, ooh, edgy. The other reasonable half had doubts. But I pushed them down because they were the same doubts that I had a few nights before Othello went up. And we'd gotten through this, we just pushed forward onto opening night. So, forward onto dawn, people. We get to opening night. And the president of the university club comes to us and informs us that we will have to vacate the space for one night only. As it turns out, across the hall, there is some kind of gala dinner. And they've been complaining about the noise, about the blood-curdling screams, and at this point I want to strangle Ryan because he's supposed to be our leader. He's supposed to organize and lead us in this club, and he's not only been fucking with us, he's now fucked us over. And we are banished down to a little discotheque that I think even the university is embarrassed exists. And I'm doing proscenium right now. And that's how we rehearsed the show for over 2 months. And now we were in the round. So our blocking counted for shit. And we looked to Jeff with no tech, with nothing but the garbage bags on our back because those were a thing. And we plead with him silently, just, if there's a moment for you to step up, this is it. What's the plan, boss? Have a great show, everybody! You're gonna do great! And after miming our way to my death scene, I do die, a little inside and out. They forget to pick me off the stage. And I lie there for 5 minutes, and I listen to the 10 people who bothered to show up mutter. And they mutter, and that muttering gets louder, and I'm thinking, no, I know what's going on, but no, I'm not going to be the one to get up and acknowledge it. I'm staying here, and the world can end, but I'm not leaving until somebody does their job and removes me from the stage. And 5 more minutes go by until I hear the sound of several actors rushing on. Turns out they got lost backstage. And they proceed to do the scene with me lying center. And I'm just going, my people. Opening night, we're in the space for the rest of the run. Projections. Projections! We can get through this. Flash forward to opening night, to the same moment. I die, and I think the 10 people who showed up that night seem to enjoy it so far. Lights go down, and after the projector breaks 3 times, what we witness together in the dark is both triggering and incompetent. It's just like this fantasia of mutilation and torture and beheadings done with dollar store plastic limbs. It just looks queasy and stupid, and there's Ryan in the center of it, howling and howling and howling, the apotheosis of a predator. It looks like an 8th grader made a snuff film, which, yeah. And my family is in the audience tonight, and they come to me, and after a long moment, they go, "You look like you were having a lot of fun up there." And somehow there's a cast party. I mean, I guess we need to repress these memories, but I think every time we see a garbage bag, we're going to have an Am flashback. I don't remember arriving, I just remember being there, surrounded by incredibly shell-shocked people. I can hear Ryan in the backyard, cannonballing into the hot tub, probably going to clog the jets with his fur. And I look and I see Jeff out of the corner of my eye, still smiling into the middle distance. And I look at my watch, and I think, if I hop a taxi, I can be home in bed by 10. And on the way back, on the long way back, I think, shit, this is it. This is the end. These are not my people. Something's got to change. Thank you.